Hi, I'm Miss Haley with the Huntsville-Madison County Public Library, and today I'm going to show you how to make a duct tape wallet. This is my duct tape wallet that I made ages ago. Ours will hopefully look a little bit better. And it will have an inside money pocket as well as two little card pockets. I recommend this craft for tweens and teens. I really don't recommend it for elementary school age children. It's pretty hard and it can be very frustrating. That said, if you are an experienced crafter, then go ahead and give it a shot. And like I said, this can be really frustrating, you guys. This is actually take 5, so keep that in mind when you're working on this craft. If you mess up, just take a deep breath, start over. It can take a couple of tries. So for this craft, you're going to need a pencil or a Sharpie, a pair of scissors. You want pretty sharp scissors. You are going to have to clean them off the blades because the sticky will get on them, but you do want some pretty sharp scissors for this or you'll be very frustrated. You need a ruler or straight edge. It does not have to be this kind of ruler. This is just what I have. A regular ruler will do fine. And you need duct tape in 2 patterns or colors. And I am actually going to switch to this duct tape later in the video, but I'm fresh out of it and I need to show you guys how to get to this point. So we're going to use the yellow duct tape to demonstrate that. So to start out, you are going to pull off a piece of your duct tape that is about 11 inches, more or less. You don't have to be super precise at this point. That is about 11 inches long, and you're going to cut it. Now when I'm doing this, I like to lay it down how you see on the video. It's rolled out of the screen there. Let me pull that in. So that the tape is laying face up, and my roll is to the side, and you can really cut and just leave it laying face up without too much handling of the tape. That is going to be very helpful for you. So as you're getting it off your fingers and getting it into position, just do it really gently. If you move very quickly or just yank your finger off there, you're really likely to fold your tape on itself and get it stuck to itself, and that's not great. And when that happens, just move my camera a little there. When that happens, you have to pretty much start over. It's not great. So just take my advice. So we're going to start with one piece of tape, and we're going to go ahead and pull off another. This is a pretty repetitive process, so we'll be doing this a lot, you guys. But go ahead and pull off another. I just tend to size it. I don't measure this next one. I tend to just size it up against my piece of tape, make sure it's close to the same length. And you're going to take it in both hands, like so. I like to hold it tight. You don't want to hold it loose. Hold it tight. And we're going to overlap it with this one. Still face up. And not like halfway. Just want the very edges to be overlapping. Like that. And you're going to stick it down with your finger. I like to kind of poke it down because it's pretty sticky at this stage and you can't really smooth it down. So that's 2. We're going to do this 3 more times for a total of 5 tape strips. Cut it off. Take it in your hand and overlap. Now I think I overlapped that other one just a little too much, so I'm going to do this one a little less. And again, I'm just going to kind of poke it down and just gently take my fingers off of it so it stays laying face up. So do this 2 more times. We're almost there. Try not to get your pieces of tape gradually shorter. You want to stay close. That one's maybe even a little too short. It's probably okay, but stick to a longer size. All right. Once more. to myself. So as you're doing this, you guys, you want to be pretty patient. You don't want to work too fast because it can really get messed up. I like to set my tape way out of the way before I start moving around. So we're going to stick this guy down, just slightly overlapping again, so that we have a sheet of tape sticky side up. Now we need to make this a sheet of tape where it's not sticky, it's both sides. So to do that, we are going to take another piece of tape about the same length. So the exact same thing we've been doing, except we're not going to stick it down the same way. So cut off your piece of tape, set your tape aside, go ahead and take that tape in your hand, hold it on both ends, hold it straight and taut. You don't want it loose, hold it tight. You're going to hold it over, don't get too close, because once this sticks down, there's no going back. So if a piece of it sticks down, like if I hold it loose and I stick it down in the middle, I just have to go from there. There's no peeling this back up. You cannot separate them once they're stuck down. So line it up with the edge, and we're going to stick it with confidence straight down and smooth it down. This part is a little easier because you can smooth it down. So now we're going to do another one, and we're going to overlap going back that way. And you do still want to overlap your tape pieces. I'll show you guys with this one. So again, hold it nice and tight. Hold it over, and like I said, you don't want it up here. You want it overlapping that piece of tape just a little, and smooth it down. So we're going to do this 3 more times until we have a fabric sheet. And then I will show you how to trim it, because it's definitely not going to stay looking like this. Again, overlap. It's okay. You can tell this one's a lot longer than the piece under it. That is okay. If you are working on a table though, maybe don't let it get too stuck down the table. Just be careful as you're lifting it that you don't accidentally mess up the sticky piece still. So we need 2 more. And for this last one, I actually like to pick it up carefully and turn it around so that I can see this edge, because I'm actually going to try to match up as close as I can. It does not have to be perfect. I'm going to try to match it up to that edge when I lay it down. So cut your last piece of tape for a while. Certainly not your last one though, guys. And this time I'm going to try to match it up with that edge. Set it down. Definitely didn't get it perfect. And you can tell there's some wrinkles, but that's okay. It's really hard to get this craft perfect, so don't stress too much about that. So now we're going to trim our sides. We're not going to measure just yet. You want to flip it to the side where you have the most sticky parts still sticking up. That's definitely that side for me. Sometimes you might have them on both sides. You just kind of have to look. And you're going to pick the shortest side, so that's my shortest one, and you're going to trim in a straight line, as straight as you can get, just to one side of that, so you're cutting off all of the sticky portions. You don't want to trim too far over, so only trim as much as you really have to do it. And don't worry about this top edge, even if you have some sticky sticking up. So that's definitely my worst edge there, so I'm going to trim to that right about here. I don't want to go too far over. Trim that off. You can throw away these little extra pieces. I definitely recommend getting them out of the way. You don't want them sticking to your project at a bad time later. So just go ahead and get rid of them. So, like I said, if you look here, I have some sticky overlapping there. That's okay. Just ignore that for now. We're going to do something later to fix that, and it won't matter. You don't have to trim that off. although part of it might get trimmed during this process. So what we want is for it to be 9.5 inches this way and 7.5 inches this way. So 9.5 long, 7.5 tall. And to do this, you're going to take your ruler and you're going to line it up with the bottom edge of your duct tape fabric and make sure your 0 is at the corner here at this edge so that's straight. And you're going to make a little mark with your pencil at 9.5 inches. And you don't have to press super hard unless you're using really dark tape. Like if you are using a darker tape that we're going to be using later on, you might have to more scratch it to get it in there. So now you're going to move up. You don't want to just do it again on this edge because then your mark will be over here and you want it in line with this one. So just line up with the edge of this and make a mark at 9.5. And then line up with those two marks and just lightly draw a line. And then you're going to cut that off along that line so that we have a piece of duct tape fabric that is 9.5 inches long. So now we need to do the side. So pick the top part that has probably the least amount of sticky overlapping. Like I said, both will probably have a little, and that's okay. So line it up with the side here and your 0 corner lined up with this edge and make a mark at 7.5. Mine is almost exactly 8 inches. I don't know how even yours will get, but that's okay. Now if you wound up with a square that when it's this way, it's not 7.5 inches, just leave it how it is. Don't trim anything off. It'll be okay. If it is not at least 7 inches, maybe 6.5, you might need to add another tape line to it. But don't stress if you didn't get over 7.5 inches. That's okay. And I did not draw a line between these two because I'm silly. Hopefully you will line your rulers up with those two edges like we did on the other one. Line them up. Fortunately, I'm pretty good at cutting straight. So, there we go. Now we have a sheet of duct tape fabric that is 9.5 inches by 7.5 inches. So I'm going to set this aside because I'm going to switch over to my pretty fabric. And I'll just save this yellow for another project. And we are going to pick up our second color of duct tape. You can do this with one color of duct tape. If you don't have two colors, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. You can 100% do this with the same piece of duct tape. It'll just be a solid color or patterned wallet, and that is fine. So our next step is going to be to finish these edges. We're going to ignore these ones. It's going to fold this way. If you want to, you can go ahead and make that fold. But you don't have to yet because we might fold it the other way. But we are going to finish off these edges. And to do that, this is where it gets, well, maybe you found the sheet fabric a little frustrating, but this for me is where it gets frustrating. So you're going to measure off a piece of your second color, if you have one, that is as long as your fabric sheet. Pretty much the same thing we've been doing there. You're going to cut it off, and now you're going to cut it in half lengthwise, which is hard to do, guys. It's not the easiest. It wants to stick to itself. I usually stick it to like the edge of the table so that I can hold it in a line and just kind of cut down towards it. It helps hold it. I can't do that in this video because then you won't see it happen. So I'm just going to stick it right there. I can actually peel up off of this. I don't recommend sticking it to your tabletop though. And I'm going to cut down. I'm going to try not to stick it to the table because I need both sides of this piece of tape that I'm cutting. Make sure you don't accidentally cut your finger. So just carefully. See, that didn't work very well. You can also rip it. If you want, you can just rip it, start ripping it gently. It will be a less finished edge, but it might be easier. And I'm sorry I have to take it off camera sometimes, you guys, just so that I don't wind up sticking it to itself. When you're cutting it in half and it's a really long piece like this, it can be very hard. Just try to hold one piece up away from the other so that they don't accidentally stick to each other. That's the biggest danger here, is that you'll accidentally stick it down to itself. So when you get to the end, I recommend ripping it off. That way, when you cut it, it doesn't fall and you don't accidentally stick it to the table or to itself. Set this piece aside. I'm gonna stick it to the edge of my table so it's kind of dangling, just so it's out of my way. So with this half, I'm going to lay it down like I did my other ones and just very gently pull my fingers away. You can see I accidentally did stick it to itself a little, but I think that'll be okay because it's on the end. So we're going to do that. Let's see, which way is this folding? I'm going to do it this way. So my clean edge, the edge I didn't cut, is right here. That's the straightest edge. You want to make sure that's going to be on the outside of your wallet. So my outside, I've already folded mine. If you haven't already folded yours, that's fine. Then you get to pick. But you're going to take your wallet sheet and you're going to lay it halfway down on top of this tape. So come in a little bit halfway. Whoops. And see, mine flopped down when I wasn't ready. Fortunately, it's okay, but if you do that, you just have to go with it. Just stick it down and finish. So now we're going to fold this edge over like that. And we're going to smooth it down. There might be a few wrinkles. That's okay. And you'll notice we have a lot of excess tape left, but that's fine. We're just going to trim that off. Try not to trim into the meat of your sheet, though. You don't want that getting trimmed when you trim this off. So just trim that off. Make sure you move this piece. If it's a little sticky, you might have to peel it off. You could probably peel that off pretty easily, but go ahead and just get that scrap out of the way. So now we're going to pick up our other piece that you had on standby. And we're going to do the same thing to the other end. So halfway, press it down, and then fold it over. I like to start my fold in the middle. I think it gets it a little cleaner. But you can start your fold wherever you want to start it. This is your wallet. So again, trim off the excess on the side. Like that. And get rid of those little tape pieces. So now we have the basis of our pocket fold. Go ahead, if you've not already, and fold your wallet in half. Just match up these two edges and make that fold nice and firm. You want to press it down. You really want that fold to hold. All right, and we're going to set this guy aside because we're going to work on our inner pocket now. The order here, it really makes a difference. It will still look okay if you get it out of order, but it'll be a little bit less durable. Like you'll have some tape edges that are exposed in a way that makes it harder to actually use this thing. And I hope you guys are going to be able to use your duct tape wallets. So just set that aside. We're going to make the inner pocket. The inner pocket is pretty much one duct tape strip. If you have, for some reason, some super thin duct tape, you might need more, and you probably would have needed more on this too. So keep that in mind if you're not using a standard size. But you want it to be about as long as, or not about, you want it to be as long as your wallet is. So cut off a piece that is that long, a little bit longer. I like to have some room to trim and maneuver so I don't accidentally get it too short, because then if you get it too short, you just have to do it again. That's not fun. So leave it laying face up. We're basically going to make a one wide strip of fabric. So it's only going to be one piece of tape wide. But it's the same exact process that we did for our big one. So cut another piece that is the same length or close. A little longer is better than shorter. Cut that off, set your tape aside. Go ahead, take this piece of tape firmly between both fingers and you're going to set it down on top of this one. You're going to try to get it as close as possible, but again, if you have overlap one way or the other, which I definitely do, you guys can see, got sticky tape overlap. That's okay. We will fix that when we finish our edges just like we did up there. You won't be able to tell that's there. But we do need to trim the short sides. So I'm just gonna trim this in a straight line, or as straight as I can get it. Hopefully that's straight. If it's not, we can fix it later. And I'm going to trim this side, but I'm actually going to hold it up to my wallet. I'm gonna line up the one I just trimmed. That's gonna be my straight side, maybe. If it's really off, go ahead and cut it again, you guys, but mine's pretty close. And I'm going to line it up there, and I'm going to make a little cut right there. And then I'm going to pick it up because I don't want to accidentally cut through my wallet, especially on the fold side. That would be bad. So I'm going to pick it up and trim the rest of that off. So now we have our pocket strip, and it's the right width. So we're going to attach it to our wallet. But first, we need to finish one edge. And so to do this, we have to do the frustrating part again. We're going to cut a strip. Don't get it stuck in your hair, you guys. Pro tip. That is as long as this one. I'm going to cut it off. And then, unfortunately, I'm going to cut it in half. You can tell this is probably my least favorite part of this process. However you need to do it, just get this piece cut in half. You can rip it in half. Whatever you guys need to do. I like to use my fingers to kind of hold down the piece I'm cutting away. Just if you're doing that, have to be pretty careful that you don't accidentally cut your finger. This is why I recommend this craft for older kids. It's at least part of it. There's a lot of difficult cutting. I'm actually just going to stick that to myself, if you see, just to hold it out of the way. You don't want to stick it down really good or anything, but you can peel it off of yourself pretty easily. Alright, so I'm going to set aside one strip, dangle it off the end of my table, and this piece I'm going to lay down just like we have been doing. Gently. We're going to take this, and on one of the long edges, we're going to overlap it about halfway. And then we're going to fold that over. Like that. That's probably harder to see since we're working with the same tape color, but it's the same thing we did up here. Fold it down, finish off that edge, and then we're going to trim these edges, being careful not to cut into our strip. Just trimming off the excess. Actually, I have a little piece more. I'm going to press that pretty good. I want that sealed nice. So, if you look at it, you want to see which side was the side you cut versus the side that was straight. This is my straight side. So that's going to be face out. So it's going to sit on there like that so that the uglier side is on the inside. So now we are going to attach this to our wallet. And in order to do this, we are going to take this strip that we cut a minute ago. And we're going to cut it in half, but not the long way. So don't start cutting yet. Thank goodness we don't have to cut this in half the long way. That'd be miserable. I wonder if this is... Nope, not quite. So, take this strip right here. And cut it in half. Sorry, you guys, I was thinking about it. I was thinking if I wanted to change my design up, but I don't. So cut it in half, set aside 1/2. And now you are going to take this guy, carefully lay it down. Actually, go ahead and set this pocket aside really quick. So you're going to turn your wallet and we're going to set this end halfway on there, but don't fold it over yet because we need to attach this part still. So I'm going to set it down so it's overlapping halfway with that tape. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my pocket here. Make sure it's lined up pretty well with the bottom. And I'm going to fold this over like that. And you want to make sure your straighter edge, the one that you didn't cut, is on the outside of your wallet here. It's not the end of the world if it didn't wind up there, but it'll look just a little bit better if the less clean cut edge is on the inside. So now we are going to trim off our excess. Be very careful when you're trimming off down here that you don't accidentally cut your fold. In fact, if you have a little overlap, that's okay. Just overlap it towards the inside. We're going to cover that part later and it will be fine. So then you're going to trim up here. And make sure here, especially because we're not ever going to cover this part again, you want to really squeeze that down and make sure that is firmly stuck and firmly overlapping and stuck together right there, because we're not going to cover that again. If we could have, I would have probably preferred to cover it with this, but you can't do that because you won't be able to get your pocket formed. So you just kind of have to do it in this order. So we're going to do the same thing to this other side. So we're going to get our piece of tape we have in standby, our other half. I'm going to turn it around because that's my clean edge on the top there. I'm going to stick this guy down halfway. Press, press, press. Fold over. Smooth it down and trim off your excess. And again, just be really careful when you're trimming it that you're pinching that side closed, and down here that you're not cutting into your fold. You don't want to do that. You'll have a hole in your wallet. So bad. Okay. So it's not quite a card pocket yet. Right now it's just one long card pocket. So we need a piece that's going to be in the center. And to do this, we're going to just go ahead and cut our strip for this. Yeah. So the frustrating part again, we're going to measure a piece of tape. It is as long as our wallet. Like so. We're going to cut it in half along the length, like we've been doing. Be careful. I sometimes even like to move my wallet to the side in case I accidentally drop my tape. Because if you stick it to that wallet, it's not going to come back up again, you guys. And then it'd be so sad at this point because we're so very close to being done. I'd be very upset if I did that. So it's getting a little harder to cut my tape. That might be a sign that my scissors are a little sticky. And I could stop and clean them if I need to. If it's getting really hard, you might want to give your scissors a wipe. Be careful when you do. It's a sharp edge. And keep cutting. Trying not to stick it to anything. So you get to the end and then rip. And go ahead and stick one piece of that to your table so it's dangling off the edge. And then this piece we're going to cut. Actually, I want the other piece because this one's a little thick. So I'm going to set this one on my table. I want that for my bottom edge. It was a nicer piece. We're going to do this one. We don't need the whole piece, so we are going to stick it down through the middle. So first, before you do this, just set this piece aside. And go ahead and fold your wallet in half this way. So you want to match up these two edges, fold it in half, and make a really nice crease, because we need that crease mark to tell where we're going to put our middle piece of tape that's going to divide that pocket into card pockets. So now you're going to take your tape and you are going to set it right here, just right in the middle. Try to get it centered. Press it down really good. Okay. Now, you're going to trim it off on this side. So the end with the pocket, you're going to trim that excess off. Being very careful, again, not to cut the fold. You don't need this piece of tape, you guys, so just get rid of him. I like to fold it in on itself so it can't stick to anything accidentally and toss it in the trash. So for this side, we are going to trim some of the excess off, but we're also going to tuck it down here so that we have a more finished edge that if we leave it, if we trim it right here, it's going to come off and it might not be as durable. So I'm just going to trim a little bit. And then, you guys can see I'm just going to fold that down and over and press really good. So that'll be hidden on the inside of our wallet. So that's that. You do want to try to get straighter edges. I didn't bother, but you do want to try to get straighter edges. So go ahead and fold it again. Or, well, no, we don't need to do that yet. We'll have to fold it one more time when we do the bottom anyway. Ignore me. So now take your piece, your last piece of tape that we set aside earlier. Lay it down face up. Make sure your straighter edge is on the outside of your wallet, and you're going to lay your wallet down so that it is halfway over. And you're going to fold it over to finish off that edge. And this is actually also finishing off all of our other edges for these side pieces. That's why we do this one last. And you can't possibly finish all your edges off. You could if you wanted to. Just fold this guy in like that if you want to. But if you want a cleaner edge, because part of it is not sticky, you can just trim it. And squeeze it down, because again, that's a weaker point in your wallet. You want to make sure that's nicely sealed. Trim this off. Try not to cut into the meat of your wallet. Fold it in half one more time. Nice fold. If it's trying not to fold in the center because we have so many layers, just get your finger in there and work it so it's folding properly. And now you have your very own duct tape wallet with a money pocket and 2 card pockets. I hope you guys had fun with this craft. I hope it wasn't too frustrating. This one frustrates a lot of people when they're first starting out. If it didn't work out for you at first, just keep trying. As you can see, you can do it, even if it takes you a couple tries. Today took me 5 tries, so I've been making these for a while, and I can still mess them up. So don't feel too bad if you didn't. But I hope you got a wonderful wallet and had some fun while you were doing it. Thank you, guys.